Okay, this is going to be chapter 14 of the Reappearance of Rachel Price. Please make sure to like and subscribe down below if you're enjoying this book so far. And here we go. 14. The White Mountains Mall had bright overhead lighting that hurt your eyes, tinny, uplifting music that didn't work at all. At least not on Belle. She couldn't tell with Rachel. The camera was nestled on James's shoulder, and Saba held the boom mic over their heads, struggling to keep it steady, moving at this speed. Ramsey walked with the camera out of frame, and Ash was behind somewhere, citrus bright in a yellow spotted shirt tucked into orange pants. Rachel was walking too fast, that was the problem, like she was running from something, chased by the camera. Belle was keeping step side by side, but not too close, sometimes even outpacing Rachel, like they were racing to some unknown finish line. So Rachel, Ramsey said cautiously, how does it feel to be back here, in this same mall where you first disappeared over 16 years ago? There are certain things I'm not allowed to discuss, she said, as this is an ongoing criminal investigation. She didn't turn back to say it, didn't give the camera her face. Of course, I understand, Ramsey said with a deferential nod. They'd already had this discussion when Ramsey tried to make conversation on the drive here. Belle had sat in the front next to him, Rachel alone in the back, closely watching the world go by, smiling when they passed dogs or kids. Ramsey tried again. Does it feel surreal to be here, now you know that this place played a huge role in the mystery of your disappearance? Rachel did turn back then, cracking open a smile for the camera. I'm happy to discuss sitting down with you for an interview another time, she said, not unkindly. Maybe tomorrow, when Anna is back at school. Ramsey looked confused by the name. He wasn't the only one. How hard could it be? Take the end of her name instead of the start. But for now, Rachel continued, pulling the smile wider, showing more teeth. I really just want to take my daughter shopping. I've waited a long time for this. No, sure, Ramsey backed off. From now on you will see us, not hear us. Promise. Pretend we're not here. I will, Rachel said, again not unkindly, but it could only be meant one way, like something Belle would say. A small flicker played on Ramsey's lips like he'd noticed it too. No, stop that. They were nothing alike. The mall wasn't busy. It was a Monday afternoon, meandering moms and dads with strollers. But every eye soon fell on them, a sure thing if Belle had $5 every time. A growing wasp buzz of whispers when people recognized the Rachel Price from the news this morning reappeared with the camera crew and going into H&M. Okay, Rachel said inside, arm brushing up against Belle's. I just need a few basic things, really. Couple pairs of shoes, a jacket, some tops, pants, maybe a skirt. I don't know. She blinked, shy and unsure. Will you help me look? Tell me what will look good? Everything's a bit more high-waisted than I remember. Sure, Belle said again because Rachel kept trapping her into it. What colors do you like? Anything, really, Rachel said, voice honey soft. It didn't match her eyes. Maybe not red. They both thought of it then. The red top she disappeared in, grainy footage from this very mall, the same filthy red top she'd been forced to wear for the past 16 years. And if her story was real, that was. There were already 2 strikes against it. No red, Belle agreed. Belle moved off, mission in hand, distracting her from the knot of tension in her gut. Rachel and the crew followed her around like ducklings, weaving in and out of the aisles. Part of her wanted to slip away and hide from Rachel in a rack of clothing like she never got to do as a kid, making moms panic to prove they truly loved you. She assumed that was why children did it. She was too old for that, but the test wouldn't work because Rachel knew more about disappearing than she did. They didn't even know each other. Forget about love. Belle picked out a couple of nice shirts, thin sweaters for daytime, black ankle boots, plain white sneakers. Versatile, she said, passing the shoes over. Some check pants Ash would probably be jealous of, a cropped trench jacket in stone. That'll go with everything, she told Rachel, handing her the hanger. You can layer under it. You don't want something too thick for summer. Rachel made a sound in the back of her throat, eyes twinkling like she might just cry. The jacket wasn't that nice. A khaki midi skirt buttoned all the way. A black shirt dress. You can dress that up or down to be more casual. Belle added it to the pile in Rachel's hands. Some sweats. For being lazy around the house. Rachel didn't say anything this time, and Belle looked back to check she was still there. She was crying, struggling through all the clothes to wipe her face. You don't like them? Belle asked, hovering awkwardly between the aisles. No, I love them all. Thank you. Rachel finally reached the tear, brushing it away. Belle felt an ache in her gut, something new, less urgent than the knot. Her face softened, offering Rachel a half smile. Rachel completed it, making one whole. "Thank you for doing this, Anna." Anna again, and it was just the knot after all, pulling tighter now. Belle had given it attention. Rachel must have noticed the shift. "Do you want something for you?" she said, widening her eyes. "I saw you looking at that green top. Something else? And that jumpsuit." She gestured with her head, no hands free. "That would look good on Carter, wouldn't it?" "I don't need anything," Belle said, turning away. They headed into the fitting rooms, leaving the crew behind. They had too many items to take in, each carrying several hangers, but the woman at the entrance made an exception. Maybe she recognized the Rachel Price. Belle would have to get used to that, she supposed. "Here." Belle hung the clothes inside the cubicle at the far end, gestured Rachel inside. Rachel moved slowly now, glancing in before she entered. Belle reached forward to close the door for her, but Rachel's hand darted out, caught it. "Maybe we don't have to shut it all the way," she said, a breathiness in her voice, close to fear. "It's pretty tight in here." Tight, like 16 years in a basement. Another tug in Belle's gut. Maybe she was being unfair. 2 mistakes didn't make Rachel a liar, did it? Things felt strange, and Rachel was strange, but she would be, wouldn't she, if she'd been trapped in the dark all that time, alone. "Sure, we can keep it open a little," Belle said, gently guiding the door back, giving Rachel a few inches. She sat outside the cubicle, flashes of flesh and material through the small crack in the door. "Bras are more complicated than they used to be," Rachel huffed from inside. Belle fought a smile. She lost. "You okay?" she called. "Nearly," Rachel replied. She emerged a few minutes later, the khaki skirt skimming her calves, paired with a ruffled black top and white sneakers. She showed Belle standing there with the sad, subdued jazz hands. "I like them," Belle said, trying, even though it didn't come naturally to her. "Wait." She moved closer, bending to her knees. "What is it?" Rachel looked down at her. "Wrong shape?" "No, it looks great. It's just your socks," Belle said, reaching forward. She hesitated, seeking permission with her eyes. Rachel nodded above her. "People don't wear them like that anymore. Need to push them down." Belle rolled the socks down until Rachel's ankles over the dressing on her left ankle where she'd been chained. Now she was this close, she noticed something else, peeking over the top of the Band-Aid. There was a large scar on the inside of Rachel's ankle, a half circle, gnarled and healed, with pearly, puckered skin. Where did that come from? When? Dad had never mentioned it, and it wasn't in the press releases that described Rachel's birthmark as her only identifying feature, so she must have got it sometime when she was disappeared. "Better?" Rachel asked. Belle straightened up, stepped back. "Better," she confirmed. Why hadn't Rachel mentioned it in her story? The man never touched her, she said. So how had she got that scar? Had it come from an injury you couldn't get if you were locked in a basement all this time? "Next," Rachel said, retreating back into the cubicle, leaving the door ajar. "No, stop it." Belle was trying. She was giving Rachel a chance. It was probably where the cuff used to rub, the same wound as below, an earlier version. She shooed away the knot in her gut. It never listened. Rachel came back out, now wearing the check pants and a white shirt with the black boots and the jacket on top. Belle cleared her throat to try again. "Looks really good," she said. Rachel looked up, catching herself in the long mirror, not quite meeting her own eyes. "You don't like it?" Belle asked. "I do," Rachel said. "It's just weird, seeing myself." Belle couldn't read Rachel's eyes because they wouldn't stay in one place, darting over the person in the mirror. She spun in a half-turn one way, then the other. "I look nice." A sound in Rachel's throat somewhere between a sniff and a laugh. Belle chose for her, laughing quietly too. "Yeah, you do. Could dress it up more with some jewelry." Rachel held one arm out, the sleeve pulling taut, looking at her bare wrist. "Like that gold bracelet you have," she said. Belle stalled, mouth open. What bracelet did Rachel mean? "The one with the skulls?" Rachel explained as she thought she could hear Belle's thoughts. Belle didn't like that, but there was something else she didn't like more. The laugh stalled on her face, the smile turned bitter. "I don't have that anymore." It was just 1 second. Rachel's eyes widened, staring at Belle's reflection hiding in the back of the mirror, and then it was gone just as fast, Rachel dropping her arm and rearranging her smile. "Must be thinking of the one Sherry used to wear." The knot stirred in Belle's gut. "Yeah," she said. "Must be." "I think that's everything." Rachel beamed at herself, sharing it with Belle as she stepped back into the cubicle. The door closed and Belle dropped her smile, unwatched, unguarded. That bracelet. The one Sam Blake gave to Belle for her 14th birthday. The one Belle threw in the river just a week later when Sam said what she did about Dad. It wasn't like Rachel could have seen the bracelet lying around the house since she'd returned. It was long gone. So how the fuck did she know about it? Another question. Another mistake? Belle didn't want to, but the nut insisted. She pulled out her phone, swiping until she found the Instagram app. On her profile, untouched in years, and the last photo Belle ever posted. A selfie of her and Sam, Belle beaming at the camera. Sam's nose nuzzling her cheek. Belle's wrist on the desk in front of them, that gold bracelet catching the light, 2 small skulls hanging by the clasp. Probably the only photo ever taken of that bracelet, the only proof of its existence before Belle made it disappear. She checked through the crack in the door that Rachel was still changing. The only way Rachel could have known about the bracelet was if she'd seen this photo after she reappeared. But that wasn't possible either. Rachel didn't have a phone yet. She didn't have access to any device that could connect to the internet, and she didn't have time. Belle had been with her since she returned, apart from at the police station and while she was sleeping. There was no way Rachel could have seen this photo online since Saturday. So how the fuck did Rachel know about the bracelet if she came out of the basement just 2 days ago? The answer was clear this time. She couldn't. Something Rachel knew that she couldn't possibly know if her story was true, which meant it wasn't. Not some of it, maybe not any of it. That wasn't just a mistake, that was a lie, which meant the other 2 weren't mistakes either. 3 lies. Belle had caught her now. And if those were lies, what else could she be lying about? Some of it, the rest of it, all of it? Was that all it was? A story crafted to fit the details it needed to fill in the mystery. It didn't even make sense. Why would the man just let Rachel go after all these years? What if there was no man? Rachel Price had disappeared and reappeared, and now Belle knew for sure she was lying about some of it, maybe all of it. The door nudged open and Rachel came out in her old clothes, oblivious or pretending to be, a mountain pile of new ones in her arms, nearly blocking out her face. "You okay?" she asked Belle, trying to read her eyes. Belle blocked her out, looked down. The board had shifted again, rewriting the sides. Belle and the stranger now exactly where they belonged on opposite ends, a liar and the one who knew about it. "Fine," she sniffed. Rachel didn't let it go. "You need water?" she asked. "You look warm." "Shopping," Belle said as though that explained it. They stood at the back of the line for the register, the camera crew waiting for them at the front of the store. An iron fist took hold of the knot in Belle's gut, twisted it, tightening it, widening up her insides along with it. A breaking point, and Belle couldn't ignore it anymore. Rachel was distracted, looking at the rack of socks. Now was her chance. Belle's hand snaked out toward the nearest shelf, wrapping around one of those tiny pots of lip balm. She slipped it up her sleeve, then into the pocket of her denim jacket, safe there. The little lip balm fed the knot in her gut, sating it. A reprieve and undoing, cooling and necessary, pull and push. Another secret fight where Belle didn't have to choose a side because she was the battleground. Belle looked away, accidentally meeting Ash's eyes, standing over there by the accessories, running his thumb over a bright pink headband. He hadn't seen her, had he? The relief didn't last long, standing this close to Rachel, shuffling forward until, "Next, please." The knot redoubled, pulling at Belle's threads while Rachel pulled out Dad's credit card. The hot prick of shame right on time. Ash didn't say anything, even if he had seen. The mall was busier when they left H&M. Was that normal for a Monday afternoon, or had word spread? People coming down to see for themselves. Not everyone recognized Rachel right away, but they knew she was someone to be stared at. Is she that actress from the Pink Lawyer film? No, she wasn't. But that didn't mean Rachel wasn't acting even now, a paper bag swinging at her side, matching the one in Belle's hand. People weren't just staring and pointing anymore. Phones were out, recording Rachel, Belle, and the crew as they passed, taking selfies with them in the background, trading their faces for likes and comments. Belle scratched her nose with her middle finger to ruin their videos. Rachel stopped, shoes screaming against the floor, staring ahead. "Oh, it's a Starbucks now." She chewed the inside of her cheek, turning to Ramsey to explain. She must not realize he already knew everything about her that it was possible to know. "There was a coffee house here, the Moose Mouse Coffee House. I used to work here after college. They did the best cinnamon buns. I dreamed of having one again. Annabelle, I guess you don't remember. Used to get sugar all over your face." Belle shook her head. No, the cinnamon buns were gone, right along with the memories of Rachel's disappearance and what really happened, which was not the same as what Rachel said had happened. "I wanted us to have one together." Rachel's voice shrank, her eyes clouded. James panned the camera to catch the two of them in front of the Starbucks. Even though the coffee house wasn't here anymore, this was still the spot, the last footage of Rachel Price alive before she and her toddler vanished here into thin air. "Starbucks probably do a cinnamon bun," Belle offered. It's not the same, Rachel said with a sad sniff, moving on. Belle had no choice but to follow. At the corner, Rachel drew closer, leaning in. Down there, she whispered so the camera and crew couldn't hear, pointing to a staff-only door. The recycling bins, where we hid. Her eyes were too close, fusing with Belle's in a way that stung. Their secret, that only one of them remembered. Belle blinked to break the link and pulled away. Did she have to believe that part of the story at least? How else had the two of them disappeared between security cameras? Their last stop was T-Mobile to get Rachel a phone. Ash asked the sales assistant to sign a release form. The guy was helpful, far too helpful, showing the camera his best angle as he talked Rachel through contracts and phones, checking his hair in the glass of the store window. They settled on the newest iPhone with a monthly contract, unlimited everything. Belle winced on behalf of Dad's card as Rachel went to pay. You might find it a little confusing to set up, the guy said, clinging on to his 15 minutes of fame. Phones are touchscreen now. I'm sure your daughter can help you. Will you, Anna? Sorry, but Belle, help me set up my phone? Rachel looked at her. Of course I will. Of course you will, the sales assistant answered for her. Belle smiled because the camera was rolling. Sure. She left Rachel there, trailing off behind the camera to the back of the store so she could drop the act. Ash was here too. Just a coincidence she wasn't trying to stand with him. So, Ash said in a low voice, hands on his hips. Anything new with you since Saturday? Belle smirked. Nothing of note. Took up knitting. Really? Ash bobbed his head. I, for one, wouldn't put needles in your hands. Why not? You seem like the stabby type, he said, their eyes meeting a slow blink. Thank you, Belle nodded, leaning closer. You look like a sad tangerine. Thank you, he nodded back. It was annoying how much he enjoyed her spite, matched her for it with a smile. It got rid of most people, everyone else in fact, so Ash couldn't be right in the head. Belle didn't know how to work with that. It's unbelievable, isn't it? He said, serious now, eyes straying over to Rachel. This whole thing, unbelievable. Belle studied him in secret, the outline of his straight nose down to the swell of his lips pressed together in thought. She knew how he'd meant it. Unbelievable to mean extraordinary, shocking, astonishing. But was there a chance he'd left it open to mean the other thing? That he couldn't quite believe Rachel's story, what he knew of it at least, a splinter of doubt hiding there. If Belle told him everything, would he believe her? Would he be on her side, someone to talk to? No, she was being ridiculous. Belle moved her eyes away. Ash shouldn't care. They were just here to make their movie, then they'd fuck off back to England forever. Belle didn't need to push, he was leaving anyway. Yeah, unbelievable, Belle said, but she meant it the other way.